Hello students. Today we shall see the continuation part of how to solve a problem with the help of C, that is using a design that is a flowchart. So in the previous series you have seen that how we can convert a flowchart into a program. That is the example that I had taken was to find out the circumference of a circle. So now after we have written a simple basic program, now we shall see the general structure of the C program. So whenever I am supposed to write a program of any big task, then I have to follow this basic structure. So always it follows a structure, and that's why it's a very good structured programming language. The very first statement that I should always use is called as a documentation section. Documentation. So documentation in the sense, so I have to include the description of what the program is doing, or any author name of the particular program, or any other extra information that I have to provide about the program, and which are not to be executed. So they are not the executing statements, so they are just comments, like that is they are just for the purpose of reading. So that thing is what I can use, something like this: slash and a star, my first program. My first program. So between the slashes and asterisk symbol is used, and that is called as a documentation, that I can use it for uh, giving some extra information about the program. So next is what the whole thing that you can see here, that is the ash include stdio.h. So the ash include stdio.h is a header file, or it is called as a preprocessor or a linking statements, a linking section. So the linking section says that, or the preprocessor statement says that, I am going to link these particular things to the my program. That is, the basic functions are to be used, or any other library functions are to be included. Everything is written there. The very simple header file that we have used here is ash include stdio.h, and that is called as a preprocessor or a linking statement. Next is the ash define pi 3.142 is the constant that we have declared, and that is called as symbolic constant. That constant is called as symbolic constant, and that section you can call it as definition section. Definition, because you can define any symbolic constant you want for your program. So say the very trivial or very basic type of symbolic constant that can be declared is like this pi, or maximum marks in the case of students result calculation, because maximum marks is the one which never changes whenever I use it in my program. The maximum marks is always a constant. So those things are to be defined here. And then I can also use the global declarations. So global declaration in the sense, so the any variables that I have to declare, any variables that I have to declare, so as to make it as very global, that is it is used in any functions of the program. So then those variables can be declared in the global section. That is, where is the exact place where I have to declare this global variables is here. That is, after I have declared my declared our symbolic constants. Next, if I have any global variables to be declared, so those global variables can be used in that place. And next comes is the main function. So the main function is always a block. It is a block like this. So in this block I will be having the declarations in the sense the variables that I have declared, and then execution statements, that is declarations for the variables that I expect for the calculations, and then execution of those statements whichever I have selected for my problem solving, and that will be the end of the main section. And then this much is the very basic structure actually. When I have a very simple program to execute, this much is the basic structure. Say if I have a bigger task, and why we have said that the C is a structured programming language, because the bigger task is always divided into sub functions, sub procedures, and each sub function is responsible for its own task. It will execute its task, and then finally the results are concluded in the main function. So those type of subroutines or the functions if you have, so those things can be included after you are coming to the end of the main function. So here the subroutines in the sense, so subroutines are functions or procedures that I have declared. So here again it is something like a separate function, or it's again something like a separate execution statement. So there again I will be having declarations, executions, everything that is done. So this full thing will be treated as a basic structure of any C program that I have to write. So that is you can go through once again, where the documentation section always is used for providing some extra information about the program, and this linking section where I have included this stdio.h, and then the definition section where I have declared the symbolic constant pi as 3.142, and then the global declarations. If you need any global declarations, that is in this case no such global variable was declared, no such global variable was used, therefore it is not declared. Otherwise if any variable which is so very global to all the functions, so those variables can be declared there in the global section. And then we have to start the main function. So in the main function we always know that this is something like a block. In this block the declaration sections and the execution sections are the main two important things, where I declare the variables and I execute the statements. When I have more than one simple task to execute, so then I have to go for multiple functions. All these multiple functions are declared one after the other, one after the other, so that each function is doing its own task, its own responsibility, and finally the main function is concluding all those things. So this is about how we can convert a design to a program. And when we know a basic simple program, now we can come to a block or a block diagram where we can know what is the basic structure of the program. Using this basic structure we can develop any types of program. The very basic thing what we have to remember is the design has to be converted into a program. That therefore before writing any program, it's always better to come out with a flow chart. After you are done with the flowchart, after you have the clear step of definition in the flowchart, then you can go to the programming, that is any programming. So in this case we have seen the example of how to convert a basic flowchart into a basic C program. Thank you.